Let's play a quick game. Imagine you could send a letter back in time to your 17-year-old self. What would you write on it? For most of us, it would probably go something like this. Learn how money works. Start investing early. Stop buying dumb stuff. And for the love of your future self, save something. Welcome to Grow Leap Academy, where we break down the lessons they should have taught you in school. Starting with money. In today's deep dive, we're exploring 17 money truths you'll wish someone had whispered in your ear before your first paycheck, your first credit card, or your first late-night Amazon binge. These are the lessons that can completely shift how you think about saving, spending, investing, and building true wealth. No fluff, no guilt, no get-rich-quick traps. Because here's the thing, personal finance isn't just for Wall Street pros or people with six-figure salaries. It's for you, right now, and it's simpler than you think. So whether you're 17, 27, or 47, these lessons can change your financial future. Starting today, let's get into it.
Welcome. You're joining us for a deep dive today into something absolutely fundamental. 17 lessons about money that, while crucial, can feel a little stark.
Stark, yeah, because they really strip away the illusions and get straight to the reality of how personal finance actually operates.
Exactly. We're not talking about overnight riches or the, perfectly filtered lives you see online.
No, none of that.
What we're focused on are the core principles you need to navigate a world where your money doesn't always go as far as it used to, and for many, financial security can feel pretty fragile.
It really can.
Our goal in this deep dive is straightforward but essential: to equip you with the knowledge and practical tools to confidently manage your financial life, no matter where you are right now.
And we aim to do it in a way that's clear, useful, and maybe even spark a few aha moments for you without getting bogged down in complicated jargon.
Definitely. So what are we unpacking today? We'll look at why financial literacy isn't an optional extra, but a must-have skill. We'll explore what it truly means to build lasting wealth, the kind that offers real security. We'll tackle the often tricky subject of debt, how to approach investing in a way that makes sense for you, and strategies for creating more than one way for money to come into your life. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's kick off with that first lesson, which really lays the groundwork for everything else we'll discuss.
All right, lesson 1. Financial literacy is a necessity, not a choice. Now, you might think that's something I'll focus on later when I have more time or maybe more money.
Right. But the reality is, money is a constant presence in your life, right here and now, and it will continue to be.
Yeah.
Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're making financial decisions.
Totally. Think about that morning coffee, the subscriptions you pay for, even deciding to save a small amount, all financial decisions.
Every single one.
And here's a hard truth for you. If you don't make an effort to understand how money works, you can be sure it will have a significant impact on your life in ways you might not like.
Yeah, it's kind of like navigating a new city without a map. You might stumble around for a while, but you're much more likely to get lost or, taken advantage of.
Precisely. Let's paint a quick picture for you. Imagine a friend who just had to have the latest smartphone and bought it on a payment plan. Looks impressive at first glance, right?
It sure does.
But then they realize they're paying significantly more than the retail price because of the interest tacked on. Meanwhile, you exercised a bit of patience, saved up, and bought the same phone outright for cash a few months down the line. Who made the better financial decision for themselves?
Clearly you did, because you understood the cost of borrowing and the benefit of saving. And that's what basic financial literacy gives you. It's not about needing a PhD in economics or anything.
Not at all. It's about grasping fundamental concepts, how interest functions, what inflation means for what you can buy, how to create a simple budget.
Just the basics.
It's like learning the basic vocabulary of a new language. And let's face it, the world operates largely on the language of money,
It really does.
Right.
So the sooner you start building that basic financial vocabulary and understanding those core concepts, the better equipped you'll be to navigate that world successfully.
Take it from us. Your future self will seriously appreciate every bit of time you invest right now in understanding the fundamentals of how money works. Okay, moving on to lesson 2. Money is a tool, not a goal. This is a really crucial shift in perspective.
It is. It's so easy to fall into the trap of believing that having a lot of money automatically equates to happiness or success. But that's often a carefully constructed image that doesn't reflect the full reality.
Right. Think of money like a hammer. A fancy gold-plated hammer might look impressive, but until you actually use it to build something, it's just a shiny object. Money is the same.
Mm.
It's a means to achieve something, a way to facilitate your goals, not the ultimate aim itself.
And when you truly internalize that, when you understand that money is a resource to help you build the life you want, rather than defining your worth, it changes how you approach your finances completely.
We've all heard stories about lottery winners, haven't we? They suddenly come into a huge sum of money, the supposed ultimate goal.
Yeah, the dream, right?
But within a few years, many have lost it all and are sometimes in a worse situation than they were before. Why do you think that happens?
Well, because they received the goal, the money, but they lacked the financial understanding, the user manual
Hmm.
for the tool,
Hmm.
to manage it effectively. They saw the money as the destination, not as something to be used strategically to build a more secure future.
That's a great way to put it. Contrast that with someone like Greta Thunberg. She didn't start with significant financial resources, but she effectively used the tools she had, her voice, her passion, her time, to
Exactly, yeah.
achieve remarkable change and influence, an impact that's really immeasurable in monetary terms.
Exactly. She understood the power of her non-monetary resources and used them purposefully. So the next time you're scrolling online and see someone flaunting wealth, take a moment to consider, what purpose does that money serve for them? What kind of life is it actually helping them to construct?
Right, because ultimately it's not just about the balance in your account, it's about what that money empowers you to do, the experiences it can unlock for you, and frankly, the peace of mind it can provide.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, let's get into lesson 3, which builds on this idea. Wealth is what remains when you lose all your money. This is a really critical distinction to understand.
Yes, money and wealth are often used interchangeably in everyday conversation, but they are fundamentally different. Money is your current financial holdings, the cash you have, the balance in your accounts.
Right, the stuff that can disappear.
Exactly. Wealth, on the other hand, is much more profound and resilient. The key insight here is that if you lost all your money tomorrow, your true wealth, your skills, knowledge, and financial understanding is what would allow you to rebuild. Money is temporary, wealth is foundational.
Think of it as what you know, the skills you've developed, and the way you think about and approach financial situations.
Let's consider two contrasting scenarios for you. First, someone who currently has a significant amount of money but spends it impulsively, has no investment strategy, and lives paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
Second, someone who might have less money at the moment but possesses valuable, in-demand skills, understands basic financial principles, and has a supportive network.
Now imagine an unexpected crisis hits a job loss or a significant economic downturn. Who do you think is better positioned to navigate that storm and recover?
Without a doubt, it's the person with wealth and the underlying knowledge and skills. Because even if their immediate financial resources are depleted, they have the foundation to earn again and rebuild.
Look at someone like Elon Musk. He's faced multiple near financial collapses throughout his career, yet he consistently bounces back, often stronger than before. Why is that?
Well, because his true wealth isn't solely tied to the valuations of his companies or his personal net worth. It's rooted in his knowledge of engineering and business, his experience in innovation, and his extensive network of connections. These are assets that can't be easily erased.
Exactly. Think of wealth as the operating system on a computer. It's the fundamental software that enables you to run various applications. Money, in this analogy, is just one of those applications, useful and necessary, but ultimately it can be reinstalled if something happens.
That's a perfect analogy. So take some time for self-reflection. What knowledge do you possess? What skills have you honed? How do you currently think about money and financial challenges? These are the components of your real, enduring wealth.
All right, let's move on to lesson 4. Savings are the foundation of wealth. This might sound straightforward, maybe even a bit unexciting, but trust us, it's absolutely crucial.
It might not be the most glamorous aspect of personal finance, no, but it's like laying the concrete slab before you can start constructing a building. Without savings, you have nothing to invest, no safety net for unexpected events, and no real sense of financial security.
It's like playing a game where you need resources to build things. Savings are your initial stockpile of those essential materials. You can't build that impressive financial future until you first gather some basic resources.
And the core principle is simple. Every crown or whatever currency you use that you save is a crown that can then start working for you, rather than constantly flowing out to cover immediate expenses. And it's not just about how much you earn.
That's a really important point. We all know individuals who earn a substantial income, but somehow are always short on cash.
Mm-hmm. Seen it many times.
And others with more modest incomes who consistently manage to save a portion of what they earn. It really boils down to spending habits.
Definitely. Consider this scenario for you. Someone earning 20,000 crowns a month and spending every single crown has zero savings. Now contrast that with someone earning 15,000 crowns a month, but consciously managing their spending and saving 3,000 crowns.
Yeah.
In just 1 year, they'd accumulate 36,000 crowns in savings.
Ugh.
Over 10 years, assuming no interest, that's 360,000 crowns, a significant foundation.
Wow, yeah. So the key is to get started, even if it's with seemingly small amounts, maybe it's 500 crowns a month initially. The consistency over time is what really makes a difference. You've likely heard of the 50-30-20 rule, allocating roughly 50% of your income to necessities, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings.
That's a useful guideline, yeah. But if that initial 20% savings goal feels too ambitious, start with a smaller percentage. Aim for 10% or even 5%. The crucial thing is to cultivate that consistent habit of saving regularly.
And here's a really effective pro tip for you. Automate your savings. Set up a recurring transfer so that a predetermined portion of your salary or allowance automatically goes into a separate savings account as soon as you receive it.
Yes, take the decision out of it.
Exactly. This way, you don't have to actively think about it each time, and you might not even consciously miss that money. It's a surprisingly powerful way to build up that essential savings foundation.
All right, let's progress to lesson 5. Live below your means. This is where things can sometimes feel a bit restrictive, but it's absolutely fundamental for achieving lasting financial well-being.
Okay, let's be direct here. Aim to consistently spend less money than you actually earn. Don't just live right at the edge of your income. So what does that look like in practical terms for you?
Well, it means that if your monthly income is, say, 25,000 crowns, you should ideally aim to live as if you were earning closer to 20,000 crowns.
Okay, create that buffer.
Exactly. And when you inevitably receive a pay raise to 30,000 crowns, resist the immediate urge to inflate your lifestyle to match that new income level. Instead, continue to live within your previous means and save or invest the difference. That's where the real magic happens.
It's true. Social media can often create a distorted picture, suggesting that everyone's living this extravagant lifestyle, the latest gadgets, designer clothing, exotic vacations.
Oh, constantly.
But what you frequently don't see is the significant debt that's often financing these displays, or how little disposable income they actually have left at the end of each month.
That's the hidden story. Consider someone like Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest individuals globally. Despite his immense fortune, he still resides in the same relatively modest house he purchased decades ago for a fraction of its current value.
It's incredible, really.
He could easily afford any property imaginable, yet he consciously chooses to live well below his extraordinary means.
And this isn't about depriving yourself of all enjoyment in life. It's about making thoughtful and intentional choices about what truly brings value to you and aligns with your personal priorities. Perhaps you value travel experiences more than owning the latest trendy clothes.
Or maybe you prioritize high-quality food over constantly upgrading your technology. The key is conscious decision-making, you know?
Right. Imagine two friends with identical incomes. One consistently spends every extra crown on fleeting trends and the newest technology. The other treats themselves occasionally but diligently invests the majority of their surplus income. Fast forward 10 years, and the first friend will likely find themselves in a very similar financial position, while the second could be well on their way to achieving significant financial independence.
Big difference over time. So really understand that living below your means isn't a form of restriction. It's actually a pathway to greater financial freedom. Freedom from constant financial stress and the liberty to build lasting wealth for your future.
Spot on. Now, let's move on to lesson 6. Paying yourself is priority number 1. This represents a significant and beneficial shift in mindset.
Absolutely. This is a fundamental way of thinking that often distinguishes individuals who achieve long-term financial success from those who consistently struggle to make ends meet.
So true.
The conventional approach for many is to receive their paycheck, then gradually pay their rent, utilities, bills, purchase groceries, maybe indulge in some entertainment, and whatever amount is left over, if anything at all, they might consider saving.
Which, let's be honest, often results in little to nothing being saved, right?
Pretty much. However, financially successful individuals tend to operate with the exact opposite approach. They prioritize paying themselves first, and then they manage their remaining expenses.
So what does this concept of paying yourself first actually entail in practice for you?
It means that as soon as you receive any income, whether it's your salary, an allowance, or earnings from a side hustle, the very first financial action you take is to allocate a predetermined portion of that money specifically towards your savings or investments
Before anything else.
before anything else. For instance, you might decide that 10% of every paycheck is automatically transferred to your investment account before you pay any other bills or make discretionary purchases.
Think of it as managing a business. No company can sustain long-term growth and success if it doesn't reinvest a portion of its profits back into its own development and future expansion. You should apply that same level of strategic importance to your personal finances.
Precisely. When you adopt this pay yourself first mentality, you're essentially making your own financial future a priority, not an afterthought.
It's not just about paying Netflix first.
Exactly. You're not just prioritizing payments to your streaming services, your mobile phone provider, or your favorite coffee shop. You're consciously investing in your own future financial well-being. And that, without a doubt, is one of the most valuable investments you can ever make.
So true. So here's a practical step you can take. The next time you receive any income, immediately set aside that designated percentage, whether it's 10%, 15%, or another amount you feel comfortable with initially. Don't overanalyze it. Just take that action.
Just do it. You might be pleasantly surprised to find that the remaining funds are still sufficient to cover your immediate needs.
And then, in a few months, take a look at the cumulative amount you've managed to save simply by implementing this one consistent shift in your financial habits. You might just surprise yourself with the progress you've made.
It's empowering.
All right, let's move on to lesson 7. Track your expenses, down to the last penny. This can initially feel a bit tedious, but the insights you gain are incredibly valuable.
Yeah, this one requires a bit of discipline. How much money did you actually spend last month? And perhaps more importantly, what exactly did you spend it on? If you find yourself struggling to answer those questions with any real accuracy, you're certainly not alone.
Definitely not. The vast majority of people have a very limited awareness of where their money actually goes. It's similar to playing a video game and completely ignoring your health bar. Suddenly, it's game over, and you have no clear understanding of why you lost.
Good analogy. With your finances, those seemingly small and insignificant expenses can accumulate surprisingly quickly and derail your financial progress without you even consciously realizing it.
Consider that daily coffee purchase, for example. Let's say it costs you around 80 crowns each day. That might seem like a relatively small amount in the moment.
It's like nothing, right?
But over the course of a single year, that adds up to almost 30,000 crowns.
Wow, when you put it like that.
That's the equivalent of a significant vacation or a substantial investment that could be generating even more money for you in the future. Now, we're not necessarily suggesting that you have to eliminate your daily coffee if it brings you genuine enjoyment.
No, it's not about deprivation.
The key takeaway is to become consciously aware of where your money is flowing and to make informed decisions about whether those expenditures truly align with your values and financial priorities.
Fortunately for you, there are numerous tools readily available to assist you with this process. You can utilize budgeting apps like Spendy, Wallet, or Check Money, or even opt for a simple spreadsheet. The most crucial step is to begin consistently tracking every single crown you spend.
And here's a fantastic side effect that many people experience when they start tracking their expenses. You'll likely find that you automatically begin spending less.
It's true. It's akin to tracking your caloric intake when you're aiming to eat healthier. The mere act of being aware of your consumption often leads to more mindful and better choices.
Exactly. When you actually see, in black and white, the amount of money you're allocating to things that don't really add significant value to your life, you'll naturally start to reevaluate those spending habits.
I recall someone who consistently felt like they never had enough money, but upon diligently tracking their expenses, they discovered they were spending an astounding 5,000 crowns each month solely on food delivery services.
That's a lot.
Yeah. By making a conscious effort to cook at home more frequently, they now save almost 3,000 crowns every single month. That's 36,000 crowns per year, just from that one change.
Incredible. So remember this fundamental principle. What you don't measure, you simply cannot manage effectively. Start measuring your money flow, and you'll be amazed at the valuable insights you'll gain about your spending patterns.
It's eye-opening.
Okay, let's transition to lesson 8. Invest early and regularly. This is where the powerful effects of long-term growth truly begin to manifest.
All right, think of it like planting a tree for your future self. The sooner you plant it, the more time it has to develop strong roots and grow tall, eventually providing shade and fruit when you need it later in life. Investing operates on the exact same fundamental principle.
Let's consider a classic example to illustrate this for you. Imagine two individuals, let's call them Sarah and Ben. Sarah starts investing at the age of 22. She consistently puts aside $150 every month until she turns 35, and then she stops completely. In total, she invests $23,400.
Okay, $22,400 total.
Now, Ben doesn't begin investing until he's 35, and he invests $150 every month until he reaches the age of 65. He invests a total of $54,000, significantly more than Sarah.
Much more, yeah.
So who ends up with a larger investment portfolio by the time they both reach 65, assuming the same average investment returns?
The surprising outcome, and this always blows people's minds, is that Sarah will likely have a considerably larger nest egg at 65, even though she invested nearly $30,000 less overall. This powerfully demonstrates that the time your investments have to grow, thanks to the magic of compounding, is far more critical than the initial amount you invest. Time is your biggest ally.
And it's important to emphasize that you don't need to have large sums of money to begin investing. Even consistently investing a relatively small amount, say $50 or $100 a month, is significantly more beneficial over the long term than occasionally investing larger amounts sporadically. Consistency truly is the key here.
Absolutely. Now, we understand that some of you might be thinking, but I don't know how to invest. And that's perfectly understandable. It can seem intimidating.
Yeah, where do you even start?
Fortunately, in today's financial landscape, there are numerous accessible options available for you. There are automated investment platforms, sometimes called robo-advisors, where you can set up recurring transfers. And they essentially handle the investment process for you based on your risk tolerance and financial goals.
Absolutely. Many traditional banks also now offer user-friendly investment applications where you can get started with very minimal initial amounts. And remember, for you, investing isn't solely about putting money into stocks and bonds.
Good point.
It can also include investing in your own education and skill development, taking courses that enhance your value in the job market, or even reading informative books about finance are all valuable investments in your future earning potential.
Definitely. So keep this important thought in mind. The best time to have started investing was probably 2 decades ago. But the absolute second best time is right now. Don't allow a lack of substantial initial capital or perceived lack of investment knowledge to prevent you from embarking on your investment journey today.
Just get started. All right, let's delve into lesson 9, which is the real powerhouse behind that early and regular investing we just discussed. The power of compound interest is often referred to as the 8th wonder of the world. This is a truly remarkable concept.
It truly is. Albert Einstein, one of the most brilliant minds in history, is famously credited with saying that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, and he certainly wasn't wrong.
High praise.
It's a form of financial leverage that, unfortunately, isn't typically emphasized in standard education. Compound interest is basically earning interest on your interest.
So in simpler terms for you, it means that you earn returns not only on the initial amount of money you invested, but also on the accumulated returns that your investment has already generated. It's like your earnings start generating their own earnings.
Exactly. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. As it rolls, it gathers more and more snow, increasing in size, and as it gets bigger, it accumulates even more snow at a faster rate. The same exponential growth happens with your investments over time due to compounding.
Let's illustrate this with a clear example for you. Imagine you invest $10,000 with an average annual return of 7%. After the first year, you'll have $10,700.
Okay.
Now, in the second year, you don't just earn 7% on the original $10,000. You earn 7% on the entire $10,700, bringing your total to $11,449. And this process continues year after year.
Exactly. And the difference seems small at first, but over a longer period, say 20 years, that initial $10,000 investment, assuming that consistent 7% annual return, would have grown to approximately $38,700, thanks to the powerful effect of those compounded returns.
That's nearly 4 times the original amount, just from compounding.
Right. Now imagine consistently adding a regular contribution to that initial investment. the potential for growth becomes even more substantial, exponentially so.
Of course, it's important to remember that in the real world, investment returns aren't always a steady 7% every single year. There will be fluctuations in the market.
Ups and downs are normal, yeah.
However, over the long term, if you invest wisely and diversify your investment portfolio, the overall market has historically shown a tendency to grow.
And that's precisely why starting to invest early in your life is so incredibly advantageous. Even a 10-year difference in when you begin investing can lead to vastly different financial outcomes down the line, potentially resulting in hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in difference by the time you reach retirement. It's staggering.
It really is. And it's crucial to keep in mind that the concept of compounding isn't limited solely to financial investments. Your knowledge, your skills, your professional network, these also compound over time as you continuously learn, develop, and build relationships.
Good point. So investing in your personal development is just as vital for your long-term success. It all compounds.
Absolutely. Okay, let's transition to lesson 10, buy assets, not liabilities. This is a fundamental shift in how you should think about your spending habits and wealth accumulation.
This is one of those core distinctions that, once you truly understand it, can completely alter your financial trajectory. And surprisingly, many individuals navigate their entire lives without ever fully grasping this essential difference.
It seems simple, but it's profound.
So let's break it down for you in simple terms. What exactly is an asset? An asset is anything that has the potential to put money into your pocket over time.
Puts money in. Got it.
Conversely, what is a liability? A liability is anything that tends to take money out of your pocket over time. It's really that straightforward.
Okay. Let's look at some concrete examples to make this clear for you. Assets can include things like stocks that pay you dividends regularly, real estate properties that you rent out and generate consistent rental income,
Yep.
online courses or digital products you've created and are selling, or even a monetized online platform that generates advertising revenue, things that generate cash flow.
Right. On the other hand, liabilities include things like a brand new car that begins to depreciate in value the moment you drive it off the dealership lot.
Ugh, that depreciation hit.
The clothes you purchase,
Hmm?
or the latest smartphone that will likely be worth significantly less in just a year. They cost you money.
The crucial difference in mindset lies in this. Individuals who consistently struggle financially tend to primarily focus on acquiring stuff, which are often liabilities. Wealthy individuals, in contrast, prioritize acquiring assets that then work to generate more income, which can then be used to acquire more assets and, yes, eventually, even more stuff if they choose to.
It's about the flow. Assets buy liabilities for the wealthy, not the other way around. Now, it's important to acknowledge for you that you can't entirely avoid all liabilities. You need a place to live, food to eat, and clothes to wear.
Of course, essentials.
However, the key is to be consciously aware of the balance between your spending on assets versus your spending on liabilities. Aim for that ratio to tilt heavily towards assets over time.
Here's a practical challenge for you to implement. Before you make any significant purchase, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this acquisition an asset or a liability? Will it have the potential to bring me money in the future, or will it primarily cost me money over time?
Just asking the question is powerful.
If it's a liability, that's not inherently a negative thing, but you should be consciously aware of the financial implications and ensure it fits within your overall plan.
And just a quick but important nuance for you regarding education. While investing in your education can be a tremendous asset if it demonstrably leads to increased earning potential,
Which it often does.
it can also become a significant liability if you incur excessive debt for a degree that doesn't result in a substantially higher income. So be thoughtful and strategic about those types of investments as well.
Good point. So, as you consider your next paycheck, think about it this way. How much of it will be allocated towards acquiring assets, and how much will be spent on liabilities? That conscious decision-making process is entirely within your control, and it will have a profound impact on your long-term financial well-being.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to address Lesson 11, which is closely related to the concepts of assets and liabilities we've just discussed. Good debt builds wealth, while bad debt destroys it. This can often be a somewhat contentious topic because the term debt frequently carries a negative connotation.
Exactly. You often hear the blanket statement that all debt is inherently bad, but the reality is far more nuanced than that. There is indeed such a thing as debt that can work in your favor, and there's definitely debt that can be significantly detrimental to your financial health.
Let's break it down. Bad debt is typically defined as debt that you incur for purchasing things that tend to lose their value rapidly or don't generate any form of future income. Think about taking out a loan to finance a vacation, charging the latest gadgets to your credit card, and not paying the balance in full,
Oh, the credit card trap.
or consistently carrying a balance on your credit card month after month. And those credit card interest rates can be absolutely punitive, often reaching 20% annually or even higher.
Ouch. That means that anything you purchase using that revolving debt can end up costing you significantly more over time due to the compounding interest charges. It's a killer.
It really is. Conversely, good debt is generally considered to be debt that you take on to acquire assets that have the potential to appreciate in value over time or generate an income stream that is higher than the interest rate you're paying on the debt.
Like using leverage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A classic example of this is taking out a mortgage on a rental property, where the rental income you receive comfortably covers your mortgage payments and ideally generates a profit. Another example could be taking out student loans to pursue an education that is highly likely to significantly increase your earning potential throughout your career. The crucial factor here is the potential return on the asset compared to the cost of the debt.
So if you're borrowing money at, let's say, a 4% annual interest rate to invest in an asset that you reasonably expect to yield an 8% annual return, then that debt is actually working to your financial advantage. You're making money on the bank's money.
Right. However, it's absolutely critical for you to remember that even what is generally considered good debt can quickly become problematic if you take on too much of it relative to your income and other financial obligations, or if your financial circumstances change unexpectedly.
Yeah, risk management is key.
For instance, a mortgage is typically considered good debt, but if you suddenly lose your primary source of income and don't have sufficient emergency savings, those monthly mortgage payments can swiftly turn into a significant financial burden, a nightmare even.
So the primary rule when it comes to debt is this. Avoid bad debt like the plague. Seriously.
Rule number one. And the second crucial rule is, even when considering good debt, exercise extreme caution and never borrow more than you can realistically and comfortably manage, even if unforeseen circumstances arise. Don't over-leverage.
Sound advice. And if you currently find yourself carrying any form of high-interest bad debt, make it your absolute top financial priority to pay it off as aggressively and quickly as possible.
Seriously. In many situations, eliminating high-interest bad debt is the single best investment you can make for your immediate and long-term financial well-being. The return is guaranteed and usually very high.
Couldn't agree more. Let's transition to Lesson 12. Create multiple streams of income. This is a crucial strategy for building both financial security and accelerating your potential for wealth accumulation.
Yes, imagine having only one single source of water for all your needs. What happens if that one source suddenly dries up? You'd be in a very precarious situation.
Absolutely. You'd be scrambling.
The same fundamental principle applies directly to your personal finances. Relying solely on a single source of income, usually a job, can leave you incredibly vulnerable to unexpected economic shifts or personal circumstances.
The vast majority of people primarily rely on the income they receive from their primary employment. But what happens if there's a significant economic downturn and your company initiates large-scale layoffs? What if the job market in your particular industry shifts and your specific skills are no longer in high demand?
Or what if you experience an unforeseen injury or illness that temporarily or permanently prevents you from working in your current role? Relying on one source is inherently risky.
That's precisely why it's so important for you to proactively diversify your income sources, not only as a crucial safety net for financial security, but also as a powerful and effective strategy for building wealth at a faster pace.
And there are fundamentally different types of income that you can explore and pursue. Active income is the income you earn by directly exchanging your time and effort for money. This typically includes your regular full-time job or any part-time side hustles where you are actively working and being paid for your time.
Trading time for money?
Right. Passive income, on the other hand, is income that you continue to receive even when you are not actively working at that particular moment. Examples of passive income include dividends from stock investments, rental income generated from real estate properties you own, or royalties earned from a book or song you've created. Money working for you.
Ideally, your long-term financial strategy should aim for a healthy mix of both active and passive income streams, with a gradual transition over time towards building more robust and sustainable passive income sources.
And often, the process of getting started with creating additional income streams isn't as daunting or complicated as it might initially seem to you. You can begin by taking relatively small and manageable steps.
Like what?
For instance, You could allocate a portion of your regular paycheck towards investing in dividend-paying exchange-traded funds. These are essentially baskets of stocks that regularly distribute a portion of their profits back to shareholders, providing you with a recurring income stream. Or perhaps you have a knack for photography and can sell your images on stock photo websites, generating income passively as people purchase your work.
Okay, leveraging existing skills.
Exactly. You might even possess a specific skill or expertise that you could leverage to create and sell digital products, such as online courses or ebooks. Starting a small side hustle on the weekends that aligns with your hobbies or existing skills is another excellent way to generate additional active income that could potentially evolve into a more passive stream over time.
You don't need to be an absolute expert in a completely new field to create additional income. Start by identifying what you genuinely enjoy doing and what skills you already possess.
Yeah, play to your strengths. If you're a skilled musician, you could offer online music lessons. If you have coding abilities, you could develop simple apps or websites for clients. If you enjoy writing, you could start a blog and explore opportunities for affiliate marketing.
Remember for you that even relatively small amounts of income coming in from various different sources can gradually accumulate over time and significantly enhance your overall financial security and freedom. Each additional stream of income provides a stronger financial safety net and opens up more opportunities for you to pursue your goals.
Diversification isn't just for investments, it's for income too. All right, let's move on to lesson 13. Understand the difference between price and value. This is a critical concept that can fundamentally shift your shopping habits and the way you evaluate your purchases.
This is a really important distinction to grasp, and it's something that we often overlook in our everyday purchasing decisions. Price and value are definitely not interchangeable, no matter how frequently we might treat them as such.
So true. Price is simply the amount of money you pay to acquire something. Value, on the other hand, is the actual benefit or worth you receive in return for that price, what you get.
Exactly. Just because an item carries a high price tag doesn't automatically qualify it as offering good value. Conversely, just because something is offered at a very low price doesn't necessarily mean it's a wise purchase or a good deal in the long run for you.
Consider the realm of fast fashion as a prime example. That seemingly inexpensive $20 shirt might appear to be a great bargain in the store.
Looks cheap, yeah.
But if it falls apart after only a few washes and you can only wear it a handful of times, was it truly a good value for your money? Probably not.
Now, contrast that with a $70 shirt made of much higher quality materials that last for several years and you can wear repeatedly. When you calculate the cost per wear, the initially more expensive shirt might actually represent a significantly better long-term value for you.
It often does. This fundamental concept of price versus value applies to virtually every type of purchase you make. A slightly more expensive laptop that is significantly more reliable and helps you generate substantial income for several years is likely to provide far greater overall value than a cheaper, less reliable laptop that constantly breaks down and hinders your productivity.
Or think about education again. Investing in a higher-priced course or training program that teaches you in-demand skills that lead to a substantial increase in your earning potential offers considerably more value than a cheaper alternative that ultimately wastes your time and doesn't deliver tangible results for you.
As Warren Buffett, who we mentioned earlier, famously stated, price is what you pay, value is what you get. He built his immense wealth by consistently understanding and diligently applying this crucial difference in his investment decisions.
It's such a simple but powerful line.
It really is. So the next time you're contemplating a purchase, don't just immediately focus on the question of how much does it cost. Instead, take a moment to ask yourself, what real value will this truly bring to me in the long run?
Ask the value question. Will it save me valuable time? Will it help me generate more income? Is it likely to last longer and be more durable? Will it contribute to improving my health or overall well-being? Will it genuinely enhance my long-term happiness?
Sometimes you'll find that the option with the highest initial price tag actually offers you the best long-term value. Other times, the cheapest option might be perfectly adequate for your needs. And sometimes, the greatest value of all might be deciding not to make the purchase at all.
Right, walking away can be the best value. It all boils down to that conscious and thoughtful assessment of what you are truly receiving in exchange for what you are giving up.
Absolutely. Okay, let's delve into lesson 14. The psychology of money matters more than the math. This is a particularly insightful aspect of personal finance that often gets overlooked in traditional financial advice.
This is so incredibly true. Your behavior and decisions surrounding money are often driven far more by your individual psychological makeup, your deeply ingrained beliefs about money, and your emotional triggers than by your actual understanding of complex financial formulas or intricate investment strategies.
Yeah, the human element is huge. You could possess a perfect theoretical understanding of all the fundamental financial principles, but if you harbor unhealthy underlying money beliefs or are prone to strong emotional spending tendencies, you'll still likely find yourself making suboptimal financial choices.
Think about it for a moment. How many times have you found yourself making a purchase in an attempt to feel better emotionally? Or perhaps to impress someone else? Or simply as a way to cope with feelings of stress or boredom?
Retail therapy, right. Those are instances where your psychology is taking the lead, not a rational mathematical calculation of needs versus wants. Research even indicates that money is a primary source of stress and anxiety for a significant majority of individuals.
And when people are feeling stressed or anxious about their financial situation, they unfortunately tend to make even poorer financial decisions, creating a really detrimental and self-perpetuating cycle. It's a trap.
It is. Your relationship with money often begins to take shape very early in your life. If you grew up in a household where there was constant financial strain and worry, you might develop a strong inclination towards extreme frugality. Or, conversely, you might develop a rebellious tendency towards overspending.
Or if open discussions about money were largely absent in your family upbringing, you might later find it uncomfortable or even anxiety-inducing to negotiate your salary in a new job, or even to openly discuss prices when making purchases. It shapes you.
It really does. So the crucial question becomes, how can you begin to understand and perhaps even hack your own individual money psychology in a positive way?
Well, the very first and most important step for you is to cultivate a keen awareness of your own personal money triggers. Do you tend to engage in impulsive shopping when you're feeling down or stressed?
Be honest with yourself.
Do you actively avoid checking your bank account balance because it evokes feelings of anxiety? Do you find yourself feeling like you deserve to buy expensive things as a reward after a particularly challenging day at work? Once you begin to identify these recurring patterns and emotional connections to your spending habits, you can start to implement practical systems to help you consciously bypass them.
Awareness is the first step. For example, automate your savings contributions like we talked about, so that you're not solely relying on your willpower in the moment to set money aside.
Take the emotion out.
Implement a self-imposed 24-hour rule for any significant non-essential purchases. Make a conscious decision to wait a full day before actually buying the item to give yourself time to evaluate whether it's truly a worthwhile purchase for you.
Let the impulse fade.
Actively seek out free or low-cost ways to reward yourself and manage stress that don't involve spending money, such as going for a walk in nature or spending time with loved ones. Find healthy coping mechanisms.
Ultimately, remember that even the most well-thought-out and mathematically sound financial strategy on paper will likely fail to deliver the desired results if your underlying psychology is consistently working against you. Understanding and actively managing your emotional relationship with money is just as, if not more, critical than simply understanding the basic financial numbers.
It's the software running the hardware. Okay, let's move on to lesson 15. Your network is your net worth. This emphasizes the significant role that human connections play in your financial success.
This is a really crucial lesson, and it's one that is often significantly underestimated. In today's interconnected world, who you know can frequently be just as, if not more, influential than what you know when it comes to your overall financial well-being and opportunities.
It's not just a cliche. Your professional and social network is truly one of your most valuable, albeit often intangible, assets.
Think about it in practical terms for you. How do the majority of people discover and secure new job opportunities? Often, it's through their personal and professional connections.
The hidden job market.
How do entrepreneurs and startup founders find potential investors to fund their businesses? Largely through their existing networks. How do you gain access to valuable information and early insights about emerging opportunities before they become widely known?
Through the grapevine, right? Frequently, it's through trusted individuals within your network who feel comfortable sharing that information with you. In fact, numerous studies, including one from Harvard, have indicated that a staggering percentage, like 85% of available job positions, are filled through networking efforts, rather than solely through formal application processes.
That's a really significant statistic and powerfully underscores the tangible value of those connections. And it's not just about finding employment. A robust and supportive network can provide you with invaluable mentorship, potential business partnerships and collaborations, access to investment opportunities you might not otherwise encounter, and insider knowledge that can significantly impact your financial journey.
But it's absolutely crucial for you to understand that building a truly valuable network isn't simply about accumulating a large list of superficial contacts, like collecting business cards. It's about actively cultivating genuine, mutually beneficial relationships with individuals who share your values and professional interests. Quality over quantity.
I recall an instance of a college student who had fairly average academic grades, but made a very conscious effort to actively build meaningful relationships by proactively assisting professors with their research, diligently connecting with alumni in their field, and actively participating in online communities related to their area of study.
Putting in the work.
When a fantastic entry-level job opportunity arose within their desired industry, guess who received the personal recommendation? It wasn't necessarily the student with the perfect GPA who kept to themselves, but rather the individual who had actively invested time and effort in building those valuable professional connections.
Relationships matter. So how can you, starting today, begin to build a more valuable and impactful network? It's often simpler than you might think. Focus on being genuinely helpful and supportive to others without expecting an immediate return. Give first.
Yeah, the law of reciprocity. Share useful information and resources, proactively make introductions between people who you believe could mutually benefit from knowing each other, and offer your skills and expertise whenever you can.
When you become known as someone who consistently adds value to others, people will naturally be more inclined to connect with you and reciprocate. And remember for you that your network isn't solely about connecting with individuals who are more experienced or successful than you are.
Good point.
It's also about nurturing relationships with your peers who are growing and developing alongside you, and even with those who are earlier in their journey whom you can offer mentorship and guidance. Build connections up, down, and sideways.
And in today's increasingly digital world, your network can extend far beyond your immediate geographical location. Actively participate in relevant online communities, engage thoughtfully in discussions, generously share your knowledge and insights, and interact authentically with others in your field or areas of interest.
You truly never know which connection, whether it's forged in person or online, might ultimately have a significant and positive impact on your financial future. Keep building those bridges.
Absolutely. All right, let's now explore Lesson 16. The most expensive thing in the world is opportunity cost. This is a really profound economic concept that has the potential to significantly alter how you approach decision-making in all areas of your life.
This is a concept that truly broadened my understanding of decision-making when I first grasped it, and has fundamentally changed how I evaluate choices. Opportunity cost, at its core, is the value of the next best alternative that you forego when you choose a particular option, what you give up.
It's not just about the direct monetary cost associated with the decision. It also encompasses the value of the time, energy, and other potential benefits or opportunities that you give up when you decide to pursue one specific path over another.
Let's consider a straightforward example for you. Imagine you have 500 crowns and you're faced with two potential choices. Option A is to spend that money on a new video game. Option B is to invest that same 500 crowns in taking an online course to learn a valuable new skill, like web design.
Okay, clear choice.
The opportunity cost of choosing to purchase the video game isn't just the 500 crowns you spent. It also crucially includes what that same 500 crowns could have potentially become if you had invested it in acquiring web design skills,
Ah, the potential future earnings.
which might have led to higher paying job opportunities or freelance projects down the line, potentially earning you significantly more income over your entire career. That foregone potential is the opportunity cost.
Or consider how you choose to allocate your valuable time. Every hour that you spend passively scrolling through social media is an hour that you are not investing in reading a book, learning a new skill, building meaningful relationships, engaging in physical exercise, or working on a creative project.
That lost potential value of those alternative activities also represents an opportunity cost. Time is perhaps the biggest one.
The particularly tricky aspect of opportunity cost is that it is often entirely invisible. You don't receive a direct bill for it, and you don't always immediately see the alternative positive outcome that you have missed out on.
It's hidden, which makes it dangerous. That's precisely what can make it such a significant, yet often overlooked, factor in our decision-making processes.
Individuals who achieve high levels of success in various fields tend to understand and instinctively consider opportunity cost in their decision-making framework. They're not just asking themselves, is this a good option? They are constantly evaluating, is this currently the best possible use of my limited and valuable resources, whether that's my money, my time, or my energy right now?
Optimizing resource allocation. Now, it's important for you to understand that considering opportunity cost doesn't mean you should never engage in activities that are purely for enjoyment or relaxation. Rest and leisure are absolutely essential for your overall well-being, creativity, and long-term productivity.
Yeah, burnout has a high opportunity cost too.
Exactly. The key is to make conscious and informed choices, fully understanding what potential alternatives you are consciously foregoing when you choose a particular path.
So, the next time you are faced with a significant decision, whether it involves how you spend your money, your time, or your energy, take a deliberate moment to ask yourself, what am I potentially giving up by choosing this specific option? Is the anticipated gain or enjoyment truly worth the potential value of the next best alternative?
Sometimes it will be, and sometimes it won't be, but at least you will be making the decision with a much clearer understanding of the true trade-offs involved. Think second-order effects.
Right. Finally, let's arrive at lesson 17. Financial freedom is about having options, not just money. This shifts our primary focus from the accumulation of wealth itself to the ultimate purpose it serves in your life.
Exactly. What is it that we are truly striving for when we talk about achieving financial success? Is it solely about reaching a specific number in your bank account, owning a lavish mansion, or possessing a luxury vehicle?
For some, maybe, but
For the vast majority of people, what they are truly seeking is a greater sense of freedom and control over their lives. Options.
the ability to make genuine choices about how you spend your time, where you choose to live, what kind of work you decide to pursue, without constantly feeling restricted or dictated by financial pressures.
That's the real prize. It's important to clarify for you that achieving financial freedom doesn't necessarily mean becoming incredibly wealthy or living an extravagant lifestyle. It's different for everyone.
So it's not about being a millionaire necessarily.
Not necessarily. More often than not, financial freedom simply means having accumulated enough passive income streams to comfortably cover your essential living expenses, thereby providing you with the autonomy to choose how you allocate your time and energy without the constant worry of making ends meet. It's about covering your baseline needs and wants without active work.
Take a moment right now to really think about it for yourself. What would you genuinely do differently in your life if money were no longer a significant concern? Would you consider changing your current job or career path? Would you dedicate more time to your hobbies and passions? Would you spend more quality time with your loved one?
Reflecting deeply on these questions can help you clarify your own personal definition of financial freedom and provide a clearer sense of direction for your financial goals and decisions. What does freedom look like to you?
These initial 17 lessons really establish a robust and crucial foundation for fundamentally rethinking your relationship with money.
They really do. Gaining a solid understanding of these sometimes challenging but ultimately essential truths is paramount for building long-term financial well-being, achieving greater financial security, and ultimately fostering a true sense of personal empowerment in your life.
Absolutely. So take some dedicated time to reflect on which of these particular lessons resonated most strongly with you and what concrete initial steps you can begin to implement in your own life starting today.
Don't just listen. Act on something. Even one small change.
Right. And here's a final thought for you to really consider. Ponder how fundamentally shifting your perspective from viewing the accumulation of money as the ultimate end goal to seeing it instead as a powerful tool for gaining more meaningful options and greater control over your own life could profoundly alter your everyday decision-making processes and ultimately the entire trajectory of your life.
It's a concept that is certainly worth exploring further on your own. Money is a means, not the end. Think about what options you truly want.
Thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the podcast is to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every bit of support helps us keep creating content that actually matters. See you in the next one.